that the use of improved varieties was ranked first. The early and timely weeding was ranked second. And it implies that the use of improved varieties, early weeding and change, but adapts the effects of climate change in the study area. In conclusion, the study concluded that rural women farmers in Kwara State perceived the effects of climate change on their livelihoods, and also high adverse effects of climate change of livelihood have mainly reduced their crop yield, also decreased the quantity and quality of grass and forage, reduced fish activities, and so on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Our third speaker is the stand-in for Cheluchi.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mumigbe. Vulnerabilities. And majority also who have lost their livelihood had signal problem replacing such livelihood, which compounded their vulnerabilities. And like I said earlier, we had more younger persons who were displaced. So for our recommendations, one, we recommend that there is community-based adaptation strategies which will promote community-based adaptation strategies to build resilience to climate change. Two, gender-sensitive interventions, to develop gender-sensitive interventions to address the unique needs of women and girls facing displacement. Education and training, to provide education and skills training to improve employability and economic empowerment. The fourth one, to strengthen social protection for vulnerable populations. In conclusion, climate-induced displacement is a growing challenge in Nigeria, and this study highlights the demographic characteristics of IDPs and the need for targeted interventions to address their vulnerabilities. By promoting community-based adaptation, gender-sensitive interventions, education and skills training, and social protection measures, we can work towards a more resilient and equitable future for those affected by climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. And our final speaker is Osadolo Izinyo.
Good afternoon, all. Let me thank Nigerian Academy of Science for the invitation extended to me to be part of this presentation. My name is Osadolo Izinyo. I come from the University of Benin. My name is Osadolo Izinyo. I come from the Center of Excellence for Sustainable Procurement, Environmental Standards and Environmental Standards and Social Standards at the University of Benin. My topic for discussion is vulnerability and adaptation strategies of gendered and disadvantaged persons in Nigeria coastal environments to climate change. In Nigeria, coastal areas stretch for as long as 853 kilometers are increasingly vulnerable to climate change impacts, characterized by rising sea levels, intense storms, heavy rainfall leading to flooding, coastal erosion, and extreme heat waves. These challenges disproportionately affect gendered and disadvantaged groups. What are the gendered and disadvantaged groups? We are looking at women, children, the elderly, low-income households, and people with disabilities. These persons present specific vulnerabilities, and therefore it is important to look at specific adaptation measures for them in a coastal environment, knowing the specific characteristics of the coastal areas. This presentation, therefore, will explore what are the specific vulnerabilities of these groups in coastal environment, and to look at what are the strategies that is aimed at building resilience in the face of climate change. Like I have said earlier, Nigeria has an extensive coastline of 853 kilometers across 9 states, from Cross River to Lagos through Akwa Ibom and all through. Then climate change impacts. What are the climate change impacts on coastal environment? We are looking at sea level rise. We are looking at what is the implication of sea level rise. Sea level rise will threaten coastal communities, leading to land loss and displacement. It will also cause inundation of low-lying areas like you have in the Niger Delta. Then coastal erosion is also an issue presented by climate change. Intensified erosion will reduce arable land and damage infrastructure. Accelerated loss of habitat, mangrove forest, which has a critical implication for biodiversity, is also jeopardized. Then saltwater intrusion is also an issue presented by climate change in coastal areas. They contaminate, they create issues with salt water in aquifers. And what does that one mean? It means that water that we ordinarily would be adequate before will now have salt and will not be adequate. Then degradation of coastal aquifer leads to degraded water quality. And knowing that women and children are essentially those that look for go around look for water for the household, it presents specific problems for them because they have to look for other areas. That then flooding too. Flooding contaminates water. So water sources are contaminated in streams and in rivers or creeks around. It means that those who look for water for them, women, will have to go to longer distances to get water for their households. Then all of these climate change impacts threaten livelihood, threaten water sources, threaten food security and housing, amongst others. And of course, it impacts the ecosystem very seriously, presenting vulnerability, socioeconomic hardship for gendered and disadvantaged groups. Like I have said earlier, disadvantaged groups are the elderly, low-income households, and people with disabilities. They face disproportionate risks due to limited access to resources, low adaptive capacities, and socioeconomic inequalities. So if you understand the specific vulnerability of these groups, then strategies can be employed. What are the strategies that we can employ or which can be employed to adapt to these changes is critical to developing inclusive policies and targeted interventions, because once we know all of that, then we can do that. This study actually is designed to investigate these vulnerabilities and adaptive measures as a broader study to look at the resilience of climate change resilience and amelioration studies, which we are currently carrying out in the coastal areas of the lower Niger River Basin under the European Union funded project. So what we are just presenting is a preliminary report of what results we have on the ongoing studies. Our focus at this point is mainly on the Niger Delta, because we know that apart from the coastal vulnerability that you have, the issues of oil exploitation and oil exploration, which are also incidental, glass flaring, will also contribute to issues that will affect gender and disadvantaged groups. So that is the reason we are looking at that. So women are affected and men differently and disproportionately because of their differentiated roles. Women have limited access to technology, gender perspectives on climate change. We needed to know what are the gender perspectives. Women have limited access to education according to Brody et al. 2008, technology, and are often not able to get early warning to be prepared for imminent danger for climate change risk. In many societies, Nigeria inclusive, traditional and social cultural norms make women subordinate to men in hierarchy, and their entitlements, rights, and land ownership are regulated. Then women also, it's also well known that women occupy fewer positions in politics, society, and areas of authority. The implication is that their participation in economic and political and social decision making is limited, depleting their avenues and opportunities. It's also reported by FAO 2011 that 43% of the workforce in agriculture and 66% of the workforce in livestock rearing in global south are women. The meaning is, and these sectors are climate sensitive. So anything that affect these issues and affect women, very ghastly too. Then we have looked at gender and vulnerability issues. Women's role in coastal livelihood, mainly fishing, agriculture, and others. These are climate sensitive. Women are primary caregivers and often responsible for food and water collection. Include the women and girls spend more time looking for water. Then floods and droughts disrupt sanitation systems, including increasing health risk, especially for menstruation, during menstruation period for women and girls. We have presented the specific vulnerabilities for all of the cases, the elderly, the low-income families, and the people with disabilities, especially, because that one helped us to look at that. Then the study methodology is through surveys, through interview, focus group discussions, then review of secondary data. Then the specific adaptation strategies have been presented. Adaptation strategies and vulnerabilities for the separate groups have been presented. For the elderly, we are looking at the adaptation strategies. They have to participate in local and safety network or social family support. They need to rely on indigenous knowledge of weather patterns to prepare for seasonal climate. Then we have also presented for the various low-income groups, vulnerabilities, and adaptation strategies. Same for people with disabilities. Then climate change impacts. Women and other marginalized groups are highly dependent on climate-sensitive resources. They are severely affected by ecological degradation and resource depletion. Then rising sea level too inundates the coastal areas and present problem of fishing for women. Women fish on the banks, while men go far into the sea with their boats for fishing. Whereas women fish near the coast. So whenever there is flooding, we have all those problems. So we have put our findings there for economic vulnerability, migration pressures from this study, healthcare access, water scarcity, food security, increased violence due to displacement, limited participation in decision making, disadvantaged groups face heightened barriers in responding to climate change impact, poverty, limited access to education, healthcare, and social service reduce the ability to implement adaptive measures. Indigenous adaptation strategies being practiced in these areas are mainly elevating the homes, adopting salt-tolerant crops, improve crop varieties, and using natural flood barriers. But however, mangrove restoration, flood-resistant building practices, and diversified livelihood have shown promise as adaptation strategies at community level in coastal regions worldwide. So we have, in general, climate change exacerbates existing vulnerability of gender and disadvantaged groups, and therefore, gender-sensitive and inclusive climate policies that empower them are required to address them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you especially to our lead presenter, the Deputy Clerk of the House of Representatives, and thank you for our other three presenters. And I do apologize for being on your necks for time, but we do have to keep to time. So we have just 15 minutes for the discussion, and I know you must have many questions. So I'd like to take, well, as many questions as we can, given the time that we have. We have just 5 minutes, and we have Prof here for the first question. Any other questions, please, for our presenters? Okay, there's another one there. Any on this side? Any more on this side? So we have two questions. So we'd go with Prof first.
Okay, thank you. I actually want to make comments rather than asking questions. I want to thank the committee that set up this scientific conference for involving the people from the House of Representatives, being represented by Dr. Mrs. Njemanze. I'm very happy about that. It's a good move. It is said, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. We have to start knowing and remembering that women have to play a major role in what we do and continue involving them. It is as we women are so important, they carry us in their belly for 9 months, they suckle us, and when it comes to behavior, they mold our characters and behaviors. If we're looking for solution, climatic solution, women will help us with it. And I'm pleading that we continue to involve them in what we do. And that's just the advice that I want to give. That women, we have to see them as being important and being part of the progress that we'll ever make in the area of environmental concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Umaru Zayanu. I'm from the National Commission for Persons with Disability. I have a little contribution here for the last speaker. We are very happy that persons with disability are involved in your research work, sir. My little contribution is that the National Commission for Persons with Disability needs awareness on this climate change in Nigeria. We, the youth, I encourage your project work, sir. We encourage the NASENI, yes, the NAS, to continue to partner with the National Commission for Persons with Disability on such kind of collaboration on climate change. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? None.
Thank you very much for the presentation, for all the great talks. But each time we come, we say this thing affects the poor. This thing affects everything that is in the world, affects the poor and the gender and all that. Why are we not focusing on making them not poor and making the gender problem? Why are we not making them more resistant to the changes that we're talking about? Where is our focus? Is it on climate change or making the poor less poor?
Is the question directed at any of the presenters in? Okay, so anyone can answer. Is it a comment or question? Madam?
Well, that is not the narrative. The actions that are planned for mitigating climate change or its adaptation strategies is not intended to make the poor stay poor or make them poorer. Already they are in that segment of the society, but the vulnerabilities expose them to more risks. And then the solutions that are being proffered are ways of helping them out. And every one of us is faced with issues of climate change. It's a global issue. It doesn't really have segments, but we are saying that there are those that are much more vulnerable. And the last speaker had really thoroughly exposed those segments and the things that lead to their vulnerabilities. If someone lives by the shoreline, that will soon be oversurged by sea or flooding. You cannot compare that person's vulnerability with another person that lives on the mountain. So the issues connected are not a divide in the society, but there are those that are more vulnerable and are targeted for remediation with the strategies that are provided. Thank you.
So thank you very much once again to our lead presenter and all our other speakers. And I would urge you to give them another round of applause. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Once again, I thank DROPC on behalf of the Nigerian Academy of Science for sponsoring that very, very innovative session. Now we're going to the last section, which is the closing section. The hallmark of that session is the presentation of the Professor Achelenu's Prize for Best Oral and Best Poster Presentations. Before I invite the chair of this session to oversee the session, I would like to invite Professor Achelonu to the high table. Professor Alex Achelonu is a distinguished emeritus professor from Mississippi, one of the very distinguished, a man who lives in the US but has the greatest heart, the greatest patriotic heart for Nigeria. He comes regularly to meetings right from Mississippi on his own personal funding. He has been making a lot of donations for various activities to the academy, and one of which is the best prize for these presenters, which will be named the Professor Alex Achelonu Prize, Best Oral Presenter and Best Poster Presenter. Thank you very much, sir, and welcome. The chairman of this session is a very distinguished, also an emeritus professor, former president of the Nigerian Academy of Science, and an internationally renowned geophysicist, Professor Mosto Onoha, a man I have the highest respect for. Professor Onoha, sir. So anything you do here, having these two gentlemen here overseeing this session is valid, and it can be taken to the market or take it to anywhere. Be the best practice so far anywhere in the world. Thank you very much, sir. Session.
I think we still have a few minutes, and I know there is a committee that is working on that. I know that committee probably will need a few more minutes to be ready, and my own job will be simple, which is to oversee the presentation. And there are only two prizes. Our High Chief, Emeritus Professor Alex Acholonu, is sitting down here. He'll shake hands and make the presentations. The certificates will be awarded. It's electronic. They will get it not here, but later, after. But I know that Professor Akojo, how many more minutes will you need? 5 minutes. Okay, we have some very hardworking people who are doing that. Professor Idowu Olayinka, immediate past VC of UI, and Professor, I'll call them forward, or at least their chairman will come and make the presentation. So I'll ask you to be a little bit patient. We need about 5 minutes. Remember, the presentations have just ended, and even the most recent presenters will also have to be evaluated with the same yardsticks as they used for those who presented yesterday. And so let's give them a little bit more time. We will still be on course for our closing session.
Yes, sorry, the QR code is for your evaluation. So please bring out your phones while you're waiting for the results, and please evaluate this conference. We value that feedback. So please scan the QR codes and do it right away. It will take you just barely a minute or less to do it. Thank you. And in most cases, and by experience, the older scientists tend to finish faster than the younger ones. So let's see what happens today.
Thank you for your patience. I can see the chair, Professor Idowu Olayinka, moving forward already. And we're grateful to the members of the committee, Professor Babalola, Professor Chidi Akojo, fellows of the academy. Chairman, please come forward. We need you here on the table. You want to, okay, they can all come forward. Yeah, where's Professor Akojo? Please come. Oh, Professor Konji, please come. I didn't see you sitting with them at the back doing the arithmetic. Okay, you had done your, okay. Please come. We want to make sure there's consensus. Oh, there were more people, and you didn't call them. Oh, okay. All right, please find seats for yourself somewhere. And I'd like to call the chairman of the assessment committee to please guide us and take over.
Thank you, sir. First, we'd like to thank our elder, Professor Alex Acholonu, one of our living ancestors, who endowed this prize. He's always donating to the Academy of Science. So I don't know whether this is the first time this prize is being awarded. Huh? The first time. And I think even though it's not for me to give the vote of thanks, I'd like to commend the good works done by the planning committee led by Emeritus Professor Friday Okonofua. Even though he looks young, he's already an Emeritus Professor. He must be the youngest Emeritus Professor in Africa, south of the Sahara. I think our task was fairly straightforward, just to assess the posters and the oral presentation. All the members of the panels are here, except maybe Professor Upong, Morenike Upong. Maybe I think she's busy somewhere else. So don't think that we are not gender sensitive. And then we basically look at the content. We were handpicked by Professor Okonofua, so there was no consensus as to how they came about our names. So we look at the content and the clarity of the presentation, then how innovative those presentations were, then the possible impacts, then the response of the presenters to the questions that were asked. So I just quickly go to all of us, each and every one of us scored those presentations, and we just found the simple average. So for the oral presentations, the third best was from sub-team 6 on climate resilient infrastructure. That was oral presentation 2, multi-criteria assessment and optimization approach to enhancing climate resilience of urban infrastructure in Minna, Nigeria, by Samuel Medaeshi. That was so the average mark was 72.0%. Then the second runners-up is from sub-team 2, climate change and water resources management. Assessing the storage potential of hard rocks aquifers for the sustainable management of groundwater using thematic aquifer parameters, machine learning models from Wasiu Raji, University of Ilorin. And the first presentation had the overall average of 77.7%. And that was from the first sub-team, effects of urban renewal on climate change. And it goes to the third oral presentation, effects of urban renewal on climate change, case of Abuja, Nigeria, from Sharif Razak, Department of Development Control, FCT Administration, Abuja, Nigeria. Then for the poster presentation, maybe we'll start with the third. That was poster number 68 with an average mark of 79.5%. That Kausarat Musa, Federal Poly, Bali. Abi? Third. Huh? Yeah, it's third. I don't know whether the presenter is here. Kausarat Musa. Okay. Then the second is for poster number 23 with an average mark of 81.5% for matter of vacancy, something about methanol leaf extract and ethyl acetylate fraction. Then the first is for poster number 98 from Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, Charlie Agaso-Koa. That's the first. Urban renewal and climate resilience, a case of community engagement in Nigeria. So that one got an average mark of 82% for the first prize. I think our job is done. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to call forward the two winners. The first, the poster presenter, if I heard very well, that poster number 98, Chiale Agasoka. If, can he, yeah, please. And I also like to call forward the best oral presenter, Sheriff if I heard that. Yeah, Sheriff Razak. I hope he's around. He didn't stay to the end to get his award. No problem. Okay, young lady, just stand aside. And I'd like High Chief Sir Alex, please, can you just come so that say a few words and shake hands with our winner, the best poster that is here. And our job will be done also.
My colleagues, first, my president of the academy, I want to tip my hat for you for the good job you've done throughout your term of office. I want to welcome the new one that will be initiated tomorrow or next. I want to say that the reason why I initiated the prize is to encourage young scientists to aspire to greater heights, to aspire to become members of the academy. And Dr. Onabanjo, our executive secretary, the vice president, Professor Konofo, both of them advised and encouraged people that presented papers to try and publish them. It will be an exercise in futility if you do all the work you put in and your paper does not see the light of day. You have to learn to put footprints on the sands of time by publishing. Somebody said, the faintest picture is better than the finest memory, which means that if you do something and put it in writing, no matter how faint it is, it will stand the test of time. People will see it and read it. But if you spend all this time doing research and you don't publish the paper, it doesn't see the light of day. It is an exercise in futility. So, my dear ones, my new young scientists, please hearken to the advice of the vice president, the advice of the executive secretary, to submit the paper for publication. And Confucius said, has God given you knowledge? Give it to others for your own improvement. Give it to them for the betterment of others. We cannot be selfish with knowledge. We must share. Thank you again, and congratulations to those receiving the award.
Shake hands with the young lady. Okay. Congratulations. You can go to the end and shake hands with the committee and then walk back to you so that we can then all the sniping with Vegas large. But the other one is not here now. Oh, see, okay. Yeah. We'll send you our certificates and communicate officially from NAS Secretariat about the outcome, including Dr. Sherif Razak, who is not here. We'll get it. So, Gentlemen, thank you very much. I think this part of the exercise is done and we are on time. The last part of the closing ceremony, which is where we are, will be for me to call forward the Vice President who chairs this scientific conference so that he himself will move the vote of thanks. Let me just say, since I have the privilege of standing behind the mic, that you can see our scientific conference is growing. We're expected to get bigger each year. If you look down here, you'll see the sponsors, and you will notice that just a few universities and maybe one or two, maybe it's our fault we're not reaching out some more. I look forward to more aggressive marketing of the conference because the real ideal, if you look at the posters, 100 posters as content in this, I know that at least 30 of them, if not more, could have been slotted for oral presentation. In other words, maybe over 2 days, we can have just 2 sessions that are parallel, bringing more younger people. We want to pay for them, we want to be able to sponsor them to these meetings. And I think we can do a more aggressive funds drive to make that possible so that the academy doesn't have to bear the brunt, because the whole idea is to promote, it's part of our mandate, the younger people being raised to, as replacement for those of us who are graying and who may not always be there and so on. So that's it. Thank you all very much. Professor Konofua, please, over to you. So that we can close the session.
Thank you, sir. Madam President, past presidents of the Nigerian Academy of Science, Dr. Sonny Kuku, my great friend in medicine, thank you, sir, for coming. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, first of all, thank God Almighty for making this a very highly successful conference. Very highly successful. We've not had any accident of any nature. We've arrived from our various destinations. And when we are thinking about the venue of this conference, we oscillated between Lagos and Abuja. And I said, Abuja is the center of gravity of this country. So I can see today that this is one of the most well-attended conferences of all time in the academic. So I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you for the confidence you had in the Academy of Science. For the fidelity, you can see that there was no single presentation where the presenter was absent. This is unlike what I've seen in several other conferences. There was no single presenter that was absent. So I want to thank you and for trusting us. And I want to assure you that this conference, as just suggested by Professor Mosto Onoha, will continue to grow in leaps and bounds. We are going to take it to higher levels, specifically in the area of inclusivity. This is a multidisciplinary, multisectoral conference. Next year, just keep your calendar open in January for every year. This conference is going to come up again. And next year, we are going to work very hard to bring policy makers right onto the center table of the conference. So I want to, first of all, thank our great president, our Madam President, members of the Governing Council for giving us the power, the local organizing committee, the power and the enablement to organize the conference. And they actually funded this project. I can say 90% of the funds for organizing this conference were funded by the Nigerian Academy of Science. Thank you very much, ma'am, for approving that. I also want to thank my colleagues who work with me in the local organizing committee, the fellows who worked with me. And I enjoyed every moment with them. We had about 15 meetings before we finally started this conference. And there was no single one who didn't play his or her role. Specifically, I want to thank Professor Aki Ibadude. Please give a round of applause, Professor Aki. Professor Kanji, thank you very much, sir. Professor Jonathan Babalola. You see, they all came. They have been here for 4 days. Professor Familoli, my great friend, treasurer. Professor Odeku, unfortunately, she's the only one who couldn't come, and she actually just told me she's been watching this online. And then my great friend and the benefactor, the fundraiser, the man who makes things happen of the academy. You can see everybody looking to one spot. That's Dr. Kinde Ladipo. Thank you very much, sir, for. And the secretariat was extraordinary. Was very wonderful. Was very, very good. And I just coordinated a similar conference for the African Academy of Science. And I could compare the cooperation I got from the Secretariat of the African Academy of Science with the one I got from the Nigerian Academy of Science. So I'm going to report to them that they should come and learn from Nigerian Academy of Science. They were extraordinarily good. Dr. Odibanjo was the man behind the train. You see around? Tall man. I think he's the only one who's close to my height. Thank you very much. Specifically, I want to thank Samuel Sofumi. I want to thank Olani Pekun. These are members of the Secretariat who play a great role. Gertrude was our fundraiser. Mobolaji, see here. Dawole, Blessing, Oyema. Diko was a one-man riot squad. He was actually the secretary of the LOC. And he did excellently well. I give him an A+ rating. Thank you very much, Diko. I'm very proud of you. You made me proud. And then, of course, Nicholas, Sheung, they all played wonderful roles. Thank you, ma. I need to report them. They read excellently well. And then let me thank the funders. They should have come last. You know, I said earlier on that most of the funds were provided by the Nigerian Academy of Science. But I must thank the DROPC. I think they are here. They made substantial contribution. NASENI, then the African Center of Excellence, Reproductive Health Innovation, University of Lagos. The Vice Chancellor is here. Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. Thank you very much for funds. And of course, Bowen University, Professor, I'm sure it was Professor Babala that did that. And then the university where I was former Vice Chancellor, Professor Fatusi is currently the Vice Chancellor, the University of Medical Sciences, Undo. I want to thank you for your donations. And the reviewers of all of the presentations that came today, listed here, you've seen on the last page, they were wonderful. We tasked them to do proper review so it could be evidence-based. And so with the quality of the presentation today and yesterday, you can see they were very excellent, based on the fact that we selected some of the best for oral presentation. So I want to thank all the reviewers again, Professor Layinka, the Emeritus VC, former VC University of Ibadan, Professor Abubakar Sambo, the incoming President of Academy, Professor Akin Iwadode, Professor Law, Professor of Chemistry. Thank you, sir. Emeritus Professor, University of Lagos, Professor Rabiu, Professor Iboka, see here, Professor Antia, and then, of course, Professor Eni Obong, Professor Gaba, Professor Adeyemi, see here, Professor Suzu, Prof, thank you very much. And then Professor Gumba and Sani, Professor Latif Sani, and then Oyenkonwu, Professor Odeku also reviewed, Professor Agbede, Professor Abdu, Professor Saliu Mustafa, and then finally Professor Zimbaru Iliyasu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. And of course, our former past presidents, Professor Anya Anyasa, I bow and I'm trembling. Thank you very much, sir. You know, I came in the morning, I sat by you, and you didn't know why I did that. I wanted to gain a lot of pot of knowledge, and I know what I've gained today, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Mosto. Honoa, thank you very much. And my great friend and mentor, Professor Tomori, a man who says the right thing most of the time. He's the science encyclopedia of Nigeria, the virologist by excellence, the man who can speak the truth to governors and to governments. Thank you very much, sir, for the role and the exemplary role you played in developing science for development in Nigeria. And then my friend, the cardiologist from Enugu State. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say, but to thank you all for coming from various destinations. I know it wasn't easy, but despite the difficulties, you were able to make it so. So once again, thank you very much, and thank you all.
It's time for the last word, and the president of the academy has that last word. I will invite her now for her closing remarks, and we draw the curtain on this. I ask the vice president to sit because that's instead of going down.
Good afternoon, all. Those of you who were here last year, you will recollect that I made a statement in my closing remarks that I was very happy. I had a smile in my mind because the hall is still full. In most conferences by this time, it's like half full or 1/4 full. So I'd like you all to congratulate yourselves and clap for yourselves for staying with us from beginning to the end. We have met and we have deliberated on climate change. And I think we've covered all grounds in climate change. It's now time for action because the Academy of Science doesn't stop at talking or publishing. We have to take action. Yesterday, I informed you that there will be a permanent exhibition on climate change, a permanent corner in our museum, which we launched 2 days ago, commissioned 2 days ago. So I want to appeal to all agencies here, as I did yesterday, that we will require exhibits from them to place in our museum on anything historic, on what they are doing in their agencies. I noticed that one particular university brought so many people for this conference, and I'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor that is sitting there because I know she sponsored them. Federal University of Technology, Akure, Professor Ladiji. Thank you. And we hope that other Vice Chancellors who are here, and there are many that are here, will help us to sponsor their participants in future. Even the past vice chancellors, there are many, almost every fellow has been a vice chancellor before. Please try and talk to the current vice chancellors and tell them that they need to sponsor their staff to these meetings. One thing you will notice, which I noticed, is that we've managed to have the quadruple helix in this room. We had government, researchers, industry, some industry, private sector, let me use that word, and even parliament today. So we hope in future we'll try and get the judiciary also to join us so that we'll have the 3 arms of government in our conference. And that collaboration is what we need to make things happen. It's what we need to move from where we are today, from all the talk we have talked, from the publishing we'll do in our journals, to actual action in the field. I thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure. This is my last, in fact, this is my last day. I'm counting in hours now. This is my last conference. And next year, it will be Professor Abubakar Sambo that will be talking like this, like I'm talking. Stand up so that they see you well. Oh. Because I'm going to hand over to him tomorrow, and his vice, vice president is sitting right here, Professor Okonofwa. So as usual, they will be assisted with a very efficient, effective secretariat, which I'm sure you've noticed. You've noticed the level of effectiveness. Thank you. And I plead with you, please next year, make sure you are here. We are going to try and spread to other countries. Today we had Togo, we had Cameroon, we have, which other country now? Cameroon, Togo, Benin. But we hope to make it more international, more African, international African by next year. So, did you get that word? International, but beginning from Africa. We are going global and local. Thank you very much. I wish you a safe trip back to your home, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Okay, Madam President. Dr. Dubanjo, maybe you want to remind us that we still have something to do today at 4 p.m. And it's right here in this hall. And okay, maybe you do that yourself while the rest of us can resume our seats. Okay. No,
Yes.
well, we have a little time.
Okay, so we have, as you see on the agenda, the presentation of a NAS Gold Medal Award. That's the highest award the academy gives. The election into the fellowship is the highest thing you can achieve, but this is recognition for specific work done by a Nigerian scientist or a group of Nigerian scientists. And this year there's a winner. It's an annual award, and that'll be presented at 4 p.m. We'll take a health break for just 10 minutes, so you can go to the bathroom, you can make a call or two, you can send an email, and then 4 o'clock we'll quickly have the award, lasts just about an hour, and you really want to be there. However, you will not be let out of that door if you haven't completed our evaluation. So the evaluation becomes your ticket you have to show that you have completed the evaluation. The QR code is up there. There are about 200 to 250 people in this room. Only 43 had completed it. So without that, the security are standing outside. You can't make it to the toilet. So please fill it very quickly so that you can get to the toilet on time and come back. Thank you. So 4 o'clock we'll start off, 4 o'clock prompt. So I've been directed to tell you, don't go anywhere. This is just 8 minutes to 4 o'clock. So we'll start 4 o'clock. The award will be given. You want to see what that is all about. You want to hear the award winner talk about his work so that you know the kind of things that can win this award. And perhaps next time, next year, 2 years, you might also be winning that award. Okay, so please wait just a few minutes break so that people can quickly get to the bathroom, make a call or whatever, and then we'll start off at 4 o'clock prompt. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, we're about to start. We have 2 minutes to please sit down. Kindly settle down, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats and let's commence this very last ceremony to award a deserving scientist for his work. Medal for the physical sciences this time around. So please, sound desk, can I ask everybody to please stand? Please give us